Caicedo nicely away from McAllister, opening up for a shot for Moisés Caicedo!
Too expensive, can't pass. Another signing who wasn't worth the price tag. That's what they said. That's what they repeated. That's what they thought. When Moisés Caicedo arrived at Chelsea for over 130 million euros, he was crucified before he even touched a ball. The English media ridiculed him, the supporters scorned him, and in Ecuador, many feared their star was fading. But what nobody knew was that Moisés had already lived in the darkness, and he knew exactly how to fight his way back into the light. Today, after a chaotic season for Chelsea, there is one truth no one can deny. Moisés Caicedo is the heartbeat of this team. He is the best defensive midfielder in all of Europe, and he was, indisputably, the best performer of the entire campaign. Because he wasn't just a pillar for the Blues, he completely rebuilt Chelsea from the ground up. But before his success, before Stamford Bridge, before his name was valued and he became one of the most expensive players in Chelsea and Premier League history, Moisés Caicedo was just a barefoot kid running on dirt, kicking a rag ball, dreaming of a kit that seemed unreachable. Born in a humble neighbourhood where football was more of an escape than a pastime, Caicedo didn't grow up with privilege. He grew up hungry, the hunger that isn't satisfied until a dream is fulfilled. His first school was the street, his first pitch, a dusty plot of land, and his first boots were handed down by 5 older brothers. When he was barely 13, he knocked on the door of the club that would change his life, Independiente del Valle. A talent factory, but also a tactical laboratory. They didn't just teach him to play there, they taught him to think, to suffer, to resist. And Moisés absorbed everything like a sponge. He played as a 5, a 6, a 8. He marked, built play, and broke the lines. He was physical, technical, and intelligent. But more than that, he had an obsession with improvement. He always arrived before everyone else. He always left after. The coaches called him the balance. But among the youth team, he already had another nickname, the Ecuadorian Kante. Because yes, even though he was over 9,000 kilometres from London, he was already being talked about as if he were predestined to play in the Premier League. And the most impressive thing of all is that every time he took a step forward, he didn't do it just for himself. He did it for his family, for his future, for his country. In August 2023, Chelsea broke the market, and the criticism was swift. But to understand why Chelsea did what they did, you have to look further back. Caicedo wasn't just coming from any club. He was coming from Brighton, the most revolutionary side in the Premier League in recent years. A laboratory led by Roberto De Zerbi, where every movement had a tactical reason designed to gain an advantage. There, Moisés didn't just shine, he was the midfield engine of a team that played on the edge. He won the ball back, distributed, broke the lines, all at just 21 years old. At Brighton, his partnership with Alexis McAllister was a tactical symphony. Caicedo did the dirty work, quiet and precise, ensuring the team always played with an advantage. And the most impactful thing was how he shone against the big clubs. Against Liverpool, he nullified Salah. Against United, he suffocated Bruno Fernandes. Against Arsenal, he turned every transition into a lethal weapon. Against PSG, he tamed the Parisian midfield. He was one of the players with the most recoveries per game in the entire league, and also the one who committed the fewest fouls per tackle, 1. That's not just talent, that's control, tactical discipline, and premature maturity. That's why it wasn't just Chelsea who wanted him. It was Liverpool, Arsenal, Bayern, but Chelsea needed him. Following Kante's departure, the club had lost its balance. Neither Enzo Fernandez nor Gallagher nor Palmer could anchor the team from the base. Caicedo was the only one with the physical, technical and mental profile to anchor a broken project, to bring order to the chaos, to be the glue for an unbalanced, overpopulated and emotionally fragile squad. So yes, they paid a lot, they paid for his present, but also for the only possible future that could sustain Chelsea. And although many scrutinised him initially, time began to vindicate the club's decision, because that player who seemed overvalued was about to become the soul of Stamford Bridge. When Moisés arrived at Chelsea, he didn't arrive at a club, he arrived at a firestorm. The blue side of London had just finished their worst season in over 2 decades. They had finished 12th in the table outside of Europe, without identity, without a project. and with a squad bloated with names but empty of leaders. A new regime in charge of the club. Over 20 signings in a year, 4 different managers in under 12 months, and a dressing room where an awkward silence reigned among those who didn't know who they were playing for or why. There was talk of a youth project, but no vision. There was talk of future, but no one knew how to build it. And in the middle of that dead-end labyrinth, Moisés was chosen to become a saviour for Chelsea, like a biblical allegory. Not for being a media darling, not for being a goal scorer, but for a player who theoretically only won the ball back. Too much pressure, far too much chaos, enough to ruin any talent. And during his first few matches, that seemed inevitable. Pochettino couldn't field a cohesive starting 11. Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo failed to gel, and the terraces were growing impatient. Where was Chelsea's heart? Who was going to step up when the team looked brittle? Because the names were there, the millions were there, but the soul was not. And it is precisely in that abyss where true leaders are forged. Not the ones who raise their arms after a thumping, but the ones who resist the storm and never stop running. Caicedo didn't make speeches, he didn't demand the armband, he just did what he always did. Worked in silence and won battles in the shadows, and match after match. While the spotlight shone on others, he began to rebuild Chelsea from his own trench. It didn't happen overnight, there was no viral moment, nor was there a shout of authority heard in the dressing room. But something began to change at Chelsea, and it all started at the feet of Moisés Caicedo. Pochettino, desperate for balance, started looking toward the man who was always in the right place. That midfielder who covered the gap, left by Chilwell when he pushed forward, who dropped to the back line when Disasi was caught out, who corrected Enzo's errors without complaint, the one who was ready to solve problems when no one else saw the danger. Caicedo didn't impose himself through charisma. He imposed himself through sheer importance. When the press failed, he was there to correct it. When the team was fractured, he adjusted the lines. When the opposition hit on the counter, Caicedo was already back before anyone else reacted. He became the reference point for everyone. Gallagher looked at him before pressing. Enzo passed him the ball when everything broke down. Even the centre-backs trusted him more when they knew he was in front of them. Because Moisés plays for the team, he plays so his side doesn't crumble. And in a young dressing room overwhelmed by expectations, his composure was infectious. While others crumbled under media pressure, Caicedo remained the same. Resolute, focused, impenetrable. Gradually, the numbers began to reflect what the eye didn't always see. More recoveries per game than McAllister, better long pass accuracy than Declan Rice. More successful coverages than any other defensive midfielder in England. But beyond the statistics, what truly changed Chelsea was the feeling that as long as Moisés was on the pitch, nothing was truly lost. Because a leader is the one who remains steady when everything else is shaking. And in modern Chelsea's most chaotic season, the youngest was the most mature. The quietest was the most essential, and the one who seemed the most overvalued and timid became the blue heartbeat of the entire team. A heart that beats to the rhythm of the San Juanito, the Albazo, the Bomba, and the Marimba. But beyond his contribution, in football, opinions abound, and when everything clouds over, the numbers bring clarity. In the 2024 to 2025 season, the data says only one thing: Moisés Caicedo was Chelsea's best player and one of the most dominant midfielders in the entire Premier League. First in recoveries per game among all midfielders in the league, top 3 in total interceptions, second in defensive duels won in his own half. But that's not all. He excelled in every defensive metric. He had a better long pass completion rate than Declan Rice. He made more ball progressions than Bruno Guimaraes. And the most surprising thing, Caicedo played more minutes than any other Chelsea player all season. Because when Pochettino and later Maresca needed order, security and control, they knew Moisés was the only answer. In a squad where injuries, rotation and inconsistency were the norm, he was the one player who was always there. The one who held the team together when it was falling apart. The one who balanced a starting 11 full of rudderless individual talent, the one who dictated play. And this isn't just a statistic, the big matches confirmed it. He was the most essential player. And at a Chelsea where nothing seemed to work, Moisés Caicedo delivered even when no one else did. That's why his value is no longer a gamble. it is now a fact. Because a player's worth isn't always measured in goals. Sometimes it's measured in order, in resilience, and in the relieved sighs of his manager, teammates, and supporters. And in that, Caicedo is, without question, number one, even when he scores from his own half in a 2-1 victory. With those strokes of genius, Moisés ended the chaos. Now there is a Chelsea looking to rebuild. With Enzo Maresca, the project has changed. A manager with clear ideas, obsessed with order, positional control, and an unshakable conviction. Teams are built from the midfield. And there, Moisés Caicedo's name is the first to appear on the tactical board. Maresca knows his team needs order, and Caicedo is just that. The shield, the axis, the defensive sweeper who balances, covers, and cleans up everything that goes wrong. But beyond the tactical, there is something that makes him indispensable. His mentality, his consistency, his leadership, the respect he has earned in a dressing room full of young players who look up to him as an example, and the affection of one of Europe's most loyal fan bases. Many inside the club appreciate when he wears the captain's armband, because Moisés thrives on consistency. While others shine in flashes, he holds the team together week in and week out. Moisés has given Chelsea the order, the identity, and the soul it needed, the heart, the peace, and the calm. And for all that, his own teammates voted him the best blue player of the 2024 to 2025 season. But behind the footballer who covers 11 kilometers per game, behind the midfielder who built a blue wall, is a simple man, humble, grounded, with his heart at home. Because Moisés Caicedo never forgets where he came from. His mother sometimes washed the neighbours' clothes so he could train. His father, who raced tricycles, bought him his first boots with an entire day's earnings. And even today, every time he steps onto a pitch, he plays for them too. Caicedo has no scandals. He doesn't seek cameras. He doesn't show off cars or watches. He lives by his values. And family. He donated part of his wages to sports schools in Santo Domingo. He organised children's tournaments in his home neighbourhood. He has publicly stated that his dream beyond his own success is for the children of Ecuador to believe they can also make it. And that is a philosophy for life. Moisés is still the same kid who asked permission to train more. He reads books on personal development. He listens to his mother before every match. And in his London home, he keeps a photo of himself playing barefoot with a plastic ball to remind himself that none of this was luck. It was all effort. And that humility, that nobility is what makes him not just a great player, but a true role model, a standard bearer, because a true legacy is built upon what he can give back through football. That is why, on his last visit to Santo Domingo, he was received by Mayor Wilson Erazo, who presented him with two significant honours: the keys to the city and the prestigious Tsáchila de Oro trophy, in recognition of his outstanding contribution to Ecuadorian sport and his success on the European stage. Initially, his name was at the centre of an announced failure, the second most expensive transfer in club history, and one of the most criticised players in the world. A scapegoat in a broken Chelsea side. The headlines were cruel, the analysis ruthless, and social media, a battleground where his name drew ridicule. But Caicedo never responded with words. He sought no excuses. He asked for no patience. He responded with work, with effort and dedication. He chose consistency and became a pillar. And today, after a turbulent season where Chelsea won the Conference League and the Club World Cup, Caicedo is no longer the problem. He is the solution. And that is why he was voted Chelsea's best player by his own teammates. The heartbeat of the team. The one who is always there. The one who doesn't fail. As long as Caicedo is on the pitch, Chelsea will have a heart that beats strong. And blue. Now the question is, will he be able to lead the team to conquer more silverware this season? Can he lift the Premier League trophy in a campaign that promises the highest level in years? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for more global football content. And if you believe Caicedo's story is one of the biggest success stories for the Blues, wait until you see what Esteban did to become Chelsea's secret weapon this season. The Brazilian went from one of his country's most decorated clubs to becoming a genuine threat in the Premier League. For the full analysis, click on this video right here.